Welcome, YouTubers, to episode 3 of Last Week in Gaming. We have an exciting week to review. I am your host, Joe, and with me for the first time is special guest NickNDHouse. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much, Joe. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We have updates for Diablo 4, Dead Island 2, Destiny 2, Lightfall, Flight Simulator, GeForce Now, GFN Thursday, and your very special favorite, Battlefield 2042. Dead Island 2 released April 21st, so last Friday, and we have some gameplay here that I have captured. For those that are unfamiliar, Dead Island 2 is developed by Deep Silver Dam Buster Studios, and yes, this was the game that took forever to make, officially announced in 2014. It's available on platforms PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Series S, as well as Microsoft Windows on PC. So what is this about? LA is being quarantined 10 years after the original Dead Island game developed by Techland Studios. And it's due to, I bet you can't guess. Can you guess what's happening in LA, Nick?
No idea. No comment.
Zombies.
Oh, well, it's heavy.
They're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. So, you are a slayer. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The question is, why does it take so much to kill a zombie?
They're just durable. They're indestructible. Almost. I mean, after so much time, you take them down.
They're out. How much effort does it take to kill them?
I don't have that much stamina. If I threw this many punches, I would be exhausted sitting on the ground with a Gatorade or two. Let's just put it that way. And I'm playing as Ryan, who is a firefighter, also exotic dancer back in the day, which I found out after choosing that character. So he must have some endurance. He must work out, get in the LA routine.
In your hobby?
Say it again.
Isn't that what you do in your hobby? Aren't you a fireman?
Shh, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Shh. Oh, I'm sorry. Again.
Anyways, as one of the Slayers, you jump on a flight, the last evacuation flight to get out of LA, but something happens. There is a infected zombie on the plane. You get bitten, and you figure out that you are immune. But one point I want to bring up is the brutality in this game. Even though it's a lightweight, funny feel type of game, there is a degree of brutality when you hit a zombie with a weapon or just your bare fist. And this is all due to the flesh system. Stands for fully locational evisceration system for humanoids. It's very technical. It's applied to all enemies in the game for a progressive effect. And this allows you to break bones and break internal organs. These are individually destructible. And it utilizes advanced fluid and soft body physics to make this happen. And gives the game an element of being fun as a fantasy for killing zombies. Nick, is this a game you want to get into, or is it too much?
See that technology combined into Battlefield.
Right? Now you're thinking. We can learn.
That included when you shot somebody, it would show breaking bones and blood vessels and and organ failures and stuff, which was good until you saw it like a bunch of times, and that's just a replay of the same thing.
All right. We need to get EA on the phone with Deep Silver and Dam Buster and Frostbite. We need to get all of them together. They need to have a conversation. This needs to come in the next Battlefield update.
They've got destruction. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, the walls fall apart. Why not have bones fall apart, too? It's not that much of a stretch. It's really not that much of a stretch. And yes, so regarding other gameplay, I will say what I have seen is there are a variety of zombies that you can kill. And it takes place all across LA. You get to meet actors, fictional actors that have their own sets of problems and help them get out of LA. What you're looking at right now is the tarot card system. As you progress in the game, you unlock skills that you can equip and use those. You can swap out tarot cards And you can customize the way that you play the game and what features or what skills you have to defeat zombies that you find all across LA. What you're looking at right here is a catalog of the different zombies that you can run into. And they are different in the sense of their specifications, if you will. They're just your general ones, and then there are your more involved ones, some that if you hit, they can even explode after about 10 seconds of hitting. So it's overall a fun experience, I will say. I am going to continue. Diablo 4 Server Slam, another beta is happening. The Server Slam is from May 12th to 14th. The beta takes place in Fractured Peaks, which is where the last two betas took place. Your progress from previous two beta weekends will not carry over. That's significant. Will not carry over. You can choose from one of the 5 classes in the game for this beta. The Barbarian, Sorcerer or Sorceress, Druid, Rogue, or Necromancer. There is a level 20 gap. Now, one distinction with this beta that was not in the former 2 betas is Ashava, the world boss, will spawn every 3 hours over the course of the weekend. That is much, much more frequent than the last 2 betas. Let's talk about rewards. If you defeat Ashava at level 20, you will receive the Cry of Ashava Mount trophy. That is new for this beta that was not in the previous 2 betas. Now, you are able to acquire or earn the last 2 beta awards. That is, if you reach the city of Kyovashad, you earn the Initial Casualty title. If you hit level 20, you earn the Early Voyager title, and this is my favorite. I absolutely love this. You earn the Wolf Pack cosmetic item. Nick, it's a little wolf. You carry it on your back. It sleeps. It's just adorable.
Literal.
It looks like a wolf. Yeah, it looks like a wolf, and it's a cub wolf, and it rests snuggled, nestled in this little hammock. I'm not describing this very well. Yes, something like that on your back. It's great. If you don't pick up the game for any other reason, that's why you should pick up the game right there. All right. For the beta, there are some changes coming to Server Slam based on the last 2. Reworked dungeons with less backtracking. That was a significant complaint from the last 2, and that is going to be changed. Added barbarian buffs is one. Decreased frequency for legendary items to drop. This was interesting, but this is going to be the case for when the game launches. So it looks like they're trying to match that frequency for legendary drops based on the game launch. There are other changes, and I've left a link in the comment if you want to explore the changes more that are coming to Server Slam. But there is one other one I will mention. There are going to be new control options for performance fixes, graphic settings, and then for PC players, the option for DLSS version 3 to enable that in the game. And that is our update for Server Slam. Nick, what do you think?
It was very informative.
Very informative. Okay.
Yeah. You can't go wrong being, what is it, a warrior?
The barbarian. I think
barbarian.
Yeah. That's your upfront combat right there.
Yeah, that might be my tendency.
Yeah, I mean, depending on if you just want to go up and brawl, there you go, and you have 6 different weapons to choose from if you do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Axe, sword, mace.
We will see. I have not played as the barbarian in the last 2 betas. I played as the sorcerer in the first, and then the necromancer the second weekend for the second beta. So I don't know what I'm going to jump into this weekend, or the weekend of May 12th to 14th. We will see.
I like to be a little bit of a mix, a mage.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is if you can get level 20 on all of them through the weekend, what's holding you back? You're not limited to just one.
what if you killed that entity that respawns every 3 hours? What if you did that 3 times? Do you get multiple advancements?
I am inclined to believe it will build up your level upon doing that. But I will say from the last two betas, I went in to challenge a Shava at, I think it was level 20. Actually, it was not a higher level. And I should have brought some extra gear because I got thrown across the map. It was not even funny. Yeah,
That's
so
good.
it's tough. I wouldn't want to go in at a level 5 or even a level 10 to go against the Shava because, I mean, one hit and you're done, but at a higher level, you have more of a chance to at least stay in the fight longer.
Can
And
you
oh, go ahead.
can you run in, attack, run away? Did Java punish within a certain amount of time?
Well, you can. You can actually retreat and then go in, and a Shava will move across the area, and you have a wider perspective as well when you take on a Shava, so you can see the other players and yourself. And you have to take into account how many times that you die from a Shava because the durability of your gear will decrease. And so I think it's about 10 times it's going to be at 0. It's 10, 11 times, I think. But you have that many before you're at 0. But you don't want that to happen, which is why I was mentioning bring some extra gear with you. So if that does happen, you can just switch it out and keep going. But the idea is to not have to do that.
Ideal.
All right, our next update is on Flight Simulator. The upcoming update is going to release for Tuesday, April 25th. This is World Update 13. The update is for the remainder of the Oceania continent, including 13 Pacific islands spread out over 8 million square kilometers. Areas including Antarctica will take advantage of satellite imagery through this update. The expansion to Oceania includes 14 bespoke airports and airstrips, 140 plus points of interest, 3 landing challenges, and outside of that, there are going to be 3 bush trips, 4 discovery flights, and 2 new ATR planes to look into. Flight Simulator initially released in 1982, so it's an old game. It's available presently on Xbox Series X and S. It's available on Xbox Cloud Gaming and Xbox Game Pass, and you can play it on PC as well. Special guest from the last 2 weeks, Kumar. This is his favorite game. He can't get enough of it. He dreams about it when he sleeps. He just absolutely cannot stay away from Microsoft Flight Simulator.
And is there an autopilot?
I will have to ask him. I have not played this game hands-on. I included this update as a dedication to him in the show.
That is nice.
But next week, or ask in the comments, and we will get a response for that. All right, our next update is Destiny Lightfall. Update 7.0.5.0. This update went live April 18th. So what does it have? It has changes to Crucible, Vanguard Ops, PvE primary weapon balance, and other changes. Let's talk about Crucible. And these are just some highlights. There's much more to this, and I will include the original source in the description for you to check out and completely dissect. So for Crucible, increasing the respawn overshield protection. Vanguard Ops, defeating Tormentors provides revive tokens like Champions and Hive Guardians in some activities have done. PvE, primary weapons, increased damage to following weapons. The auto rifle at 25% for those auto rifle fans. Thank you, Bungie, for doing that. Pulse rifles, hand cannons, and sidearms, 20% increase. Scout rifles, a 10% increase. Other changes, and this is actually funny. Added a commendation and stat tracker for best dressed. For those players that really invest time, Nick, into dressing the best, they need to be accommodated for that. That's work. That's silver in Eververse that you pay.
It's killing and looking good while doing it.
Exactly. So there needs to be an accommodation. I completely agree with Bungie on this one, and appreciate the effort to do that. Outside of the update for the week with Bungie for the last week, there was the first community voted weapon ornament for the Arbalest, which is an exotic linear fusion rifle, and we actually have that up here on the upper right-hand screen. And regarding the others, there's option for another vote. This is an effort by Bungie is taking for another vote for another weapon ornament. And there are going to be 3 ornaments designed for the Azangi's Burden, the Wither Horde, and the Thunderlord. We have those up on the upper left hand of the screen. And then the community is going to be able to vote on the ornament that it wants to be available in Eververse. And that, I should say, for the Arbalest ornament, you can get that. As of last week, you can get that in the Eververse store. So my vote is for the Wither Horde. I actually love the Wither Horde. I use it with my solar build. It's great. Would love to see that. Nothing against the Thunderlord. One of my friends is going to be upset with me, I know, because I didn't say Thunderlord. But
I like the names.
Yeah.
I'm going to credit just to the names. Thunderlord, Obelisk. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Oh, the weapons are great. It's a reason to play Destiny, is the versatility and how diverse the weapons are. Absolutely. And one last comment for the season. This is the last week of Iron Banner that is upcoming this upcoming week. So if you are working on your rank in Iron Banner, this is the time to do so this upcoming week. So that is our update for Destiny for last week. Let's transition to GFN Thursday, GeForce Now, the NVIDIA cloud streaming service. GFN Thursday is a routine Thursday where NVIDIA announces what new games you can play in the cloud. We have that list here. Survival, Fountain of Youth, that released April 19th, and that's available on Steam. Dead Island 2, which we just covered, that is available to play in the cloud as well. F1 2021, available in Steam. The Dark Pictures Anthology games, specifically Man of Maiden, Little Hope, House of Ashes, and The Devil and Me, all available to play in the cloud. Next update. Battlefield 2042.
What?
Update 4.2.0. All right. So for this one, map rework on Discarded. That's actually my favorite map, so I'm really happy to see that this one is reworked. And we have a picture of that up on the screen as well. That was provided in the announcement for the update. And that is also in the comments for those that are interested in diving deeper, like yourself, Nick, for diving deeper into this update. So what is available in the new update, specifically with Discarded? New flags and other flags are moved closer to main areas, so tighter proximity. There are going to be several new paths and roads across the map. That means, Nick, we can take a tank or another four-wheeler, and we can take more pictures of the beautiful view in Discarded. And if we're not doing that, then we are shooting enemies from the back, right?
Always. That, by the way, is a great idea. You'll be able to shoot more of them if they're not looking at you.
And there might be a pathway to do that, and thanks to the update.
Oh, yeah. I can see a lot of hiding and sniping. Yeah, definitely. And don't forget knifing.
Knifing. Of course. Very, very important there, the knifing. So what else is... Oh, go ahead. My bad. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
Battlefield recently has taken away the knifing a little bit, but it's really the most insult you can do to another player is snipe them.
Absolutely.
And that's really what you want to do.
Yeah, it's up there as one of the top ways to insult somebody, in my opinion. It's definitely not a reassuring feeling that you are a great player when you get knifed. I think you have a bad day from work. I just want to play, and then you get knifed in the
Yeah,
first 5 minutes. I'm done. I want my money back.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. But if you're the one knifing,
Yes. Now you
that's
have
just
a great day.
that's just awesome. Especially if two or three snipers are laying there, they're concentrating, they're shooting, they're like shooting, and you knife one of them, and you notice the other two aren't getting up and doing anything, and you go, "Oh, they're not playing as a team," and then you just knife the other two. And you
Yeah.
say,
That one sniper that shoots you 5 times, and then you can knife that sniper. Yeah. That's an awesome feeling. For the rest of the update, we have global lighting improved in certain areas. Those certain areas are the salvage yards, which we have a picture on the screen, the antenna, and the dismantled hull. There are some other details for the update. Collection and customization improvements, such as the ability to remove weapon attachments from weapons within the collection screen. End of round improvements, such as the showcasing of a new personal best statistic. I do like that because I like to know that I'm improving my battlefield skills instead of just staying stagnant. The Liz Specialist Mastery improvement is to include assists into the tracking of mastery. Uniform soldier aiming now on by default. We may want to talk about that more, Nick. That is going to be a change. All of this is upcoming Tuesday, April 25th, 8 a.m. UTC time. And that is our Battlefield update. Any other thoughts, Nick, on this one?
well, I expect it'll be fun regardless. We'll have to see. One of the things about all the video games you've been showing is the graphics. People nowadays just expect extreme graphics and everything. I'm too old, and I'm always impressed, not only in the graphics, but the realization that you're in another state, other people are in other countries, and we're all playing together.
Yeah.
And times, you get shot and you're like, oh, I made it around that corner and that shouldn't have been shot. But the other person in another country, maybe closer to the server, might have a more true to time view of things. So I do employ that people don't take everything for granted. And, maybe you were actually shot before you made it around the corner.
That is true. But we have a common enemy when we game, and that brings people together, I think.
Oh, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fun.
All right. Moving forward to our special guest topic. Using Battlefield Portal to optimize your settings to be a better Battlefield player. And special guest NickNDHouse is going to take us through, or rather me, which he did before this, take us through Portal on testing whether we do or do not have the optimal part. Is getting into this server. And the server name is AANJ7Z. You're going to see that on the screen right here. But Nick, talk to us about Portal and what you can tell us.
Right, you were mentioning the real value is the ability to in an environment test your equipment, test your setups, your options in Xbox or PlayStation or PC, and be able to see which settings are best for you and enable you to do the best that you can or better, right? And test the hypothesis with reality, or with the actual testing in the environment. And you can come up with a hypothesis, and we'll go over some of those. And to do that, you want this type of environment. And one thing about the Portal as well, for those who aren't familiar, Portal enables you to go into others' servers that other people have created. It also enables you to create your own. I don't know how to do that. But in this case, we went into somebody's portal. Somebody set up a server that they created, basically an application that allows you to play Battlefield or test with actual bots. And they're sort of stuck there. So it gives you a nice, clean environment to run some testing. So anyway, you should go over how to get to the portal, to click on it, and how to then click on, in case you're following along, you want to then click on host and type in that name, AANJ, was it
7Z. You have it. Yep.
Yeah, that was by memory because it's that good. And yeah, so once you type that in, then you can also add a password, which you may want to do just because otherwise people might show up and then, mess up your testing, which actually did in our earlier test.
Yeah.
Something showed up and that was because browsing it and they're like, oh, I'll go in there. And we were already in there. And
yeah,
that didn't work so well. So I would advise putting in a password so that you can do your own testing.
And I will say that was funny because we realized that there's only one way we can actually die in the portal server, and we will show that here upcoming with knifing when we get to that section. Because we shot each other quite a few times and we just saw our health replenish. All right, we ready for part 2?
Yes, sir.
The wall test. How bad I am at shooting with hip fire. That's what we discovered.
Oh, it's not actually how bad you are. It's what the difference between hip fire, right? So you can see, watch as Joe just, so the idea here was we wanted to see what the pattern is when you're firing without touching the joystick to just pull the trigger. And you can see as a result, look at that wall. If you were a person, yes, some bullets would hit you. But not a lot. There's not a lot of grouping in there. And if you're playing an opponent who's not doing hip fire, and of course not just letting the stick go, you'll lose. You'll lose in that battle. And if you look at me, I'm on the knee, I'm crouching, but I'm still not touching the joystick, right? I am, in that case, aim down sight. And that gives you that line. See that line on the far right? That's a straight line. That would hit a lot of, one player with a lot of bullets if we silhouetted their person on top of that. And that's a difference, right? The bullet grouping versus, as you can see there, hip fire. So, when you start meeting an opponent, sure, start with the hip fire, but then aim down sight so you can group. But the reason why we saw that pattern that went from the lower left to the upper right was the settings, was the attachments of my gun. That every gun and every attachment will change that a little bit. And so what you can do is if you see your gun pattern as it is naturally, so in this case, it went from the lower right to the upper right, lower left up to upper right. So knowing that, means that then you can intuitively push down to the left to counter that so you get a tighter grouping and therefore more bullets into the opponent. And that is part of the benefit of you doing this wall test. But you can see that's a nice clean line. And even if a person was there, and that's me without countering on the joystick, that right there would kill somebody. And then I think on the lower right, I was countering a little bit and pushing down because, by the way, your gun naturally has a lift to it. So it will naturally lift, which also we do want to talk about was your sensitivity, your, what is it, aim sensitivity?
Yes. Yeah, we can tackle that in part 5, or we can discuss it briefly now and then tackle it later in part 5. Completely up to you.
Yeah. A little addition to that, right, is that the lower the sensitivity, the greater the effort you have to use to counter the gun behavior, right? So if you have the sensitivity really low and the gun has a setting where it's a strong gun, which means it's also going to have a powerful lift feature to it. So in order to counter that, there will be times with a low sensitivity that you won't be able to keep that gun pointed down or straight because your sensitivity is too low. So you're going to find a balancing point where you can keep that gun lower and counter the lift effect so that you can keep your groupings tighter. and that will enable you to win against your opponent.
And I think, too, I want to distinguish, we are both using controllers. I believe we are using both Xbox Elite controllers as well.
Yes, which I do appreciate, and I think that they're worth the money.
I mean, I enjoy mine. I have the core, the white and black one, so it is doing a great job for me based on how I have it tuned. All right, and I'll also check on whether we can get that patented, the wall test. Give an update on that.
One credit would be that the things that I'm learning and passing on are things that others have learned and passed on, right? Yes. Which is one of the about the Battlefield community and video games and what Joe's doing here, which is sharing information so that everybody can just find what they want and play the games and enjoy them, and perhaps find better ways to improve your games, which is always very helpful.
It's good to know the subject matter experts for these games, like yourself, Nick.
No, I'm no expert. I play a lot, so.
Awesome. All right, looking at part 3, knifing. We had some fun with this one. Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we were disappointed because I didn't see the machete come down.
I was hoping.
Yeah.
Like you'd see it coming at you. That's why I chose that particular takedown. Was because that's the way I want it. I want people to know and to feel it. Yeah. Right there. And knowing that they don't get quite that view, I might have to look into a difference.
We can write them. Yeah, we can write EA. Let them.
Yep.
A setting. They could just click it on if they want, or set it on. Brutal melee, or not brutal melee. Yeah, we could do it.
Look at that. You just improved the game right there.
And we'll have that conversation with the conversation about incorporating the flesh system into Battlefield.
Right there. Oh, yeah. And then if you survive, you should go around with flesh like half peeled or something. Oh, yeah. That would be.
Yeah. So you're going up to somebody, a teammate. Do you need a medic? Look at your face.
Yep, exactly. But I do want to say, so one of the things that we were doing, is this the test, right?
This is knifing, where we were.
Yeah. We were testing 2 things here. So one, I had the hypothesis that if I were to point out somebody and say the range, I thought the enemy could hear me, right? But Joe was being on the opposite side. So when I pointed at him and spotted him to get the distance, he did not hear that. So I confirmed that spotting somebody and while your character says, enemy, 40 yards away or 20 yards away, the enemy doesn't hear them. And that's important to know. The second thing was what we were doing here was also seeing at what distance do you need to be to get the knifing animation. So we were checking the distance, and we kept walking closer and closer to a point where the animation took place. And that, by the way, is 2 meters or 6 feet away. And I was hoping that you could get the knife animation from the front. But apparently you cannot.
Can't.
And this is, again, the benefits of Portal. Here you can test out those theories and actually see and test. Whereas if you're really in gameplay, you may be attacking somebody from the front, but they may spin. And then if you got the knife, it may have been that they actually turned around looking for you and you got them in the back and you wouldn't know. But here, very easily, it's, very scientific. You can actually have a hypothesis and test it.
Exactly. And we had fun doing that with Portal.
Yeah. And I will add another hypothesis that I was thinking that I don't know about. If you look at the echoes from the snipers, the Casper sniper suit, I'm hypothesizing that, because I've seen other people say that the enemy is where the enemy is, and that they can tell, I believe, they can tell left or right or forward or backward And I'm guessing that it's the redness within those echoes, that wherever it's red is where an enemy is, and then it does distance. But we haven't truly tested that out. So it would be interesting to see with that hypothesis. So again, we'd use Portal. We'll get away from these people because they're too grouping. But when we play each other, I would be on the opposite side. So I could stand at a distance, and then he could walk around me and confirm that hypothesis. Or you can test it yourself with another.
Yes, and we could have another special guest segment looking at Portal. Doesn't have to be the only one here. We have much more to test.
I agree. I think there's definitely good reasons to test more.
All right. Should we move on to part 4? Aim down sight, ADS.
Indeed.
Here we go.
Okay, so this again is the benefits of Portal. You can go through your options and your controller settings. And in this case, we're comparing ADS on to ADS off.
So ADS is on right here.
And ADS, by the way, aim down sight for those paying attention.
And for me, I found, because I have the natural inclination when I see an enemy, I want to zoom in. I try to break myself out of that cycle, and I am having the most difficult time doing that. So with ADS on, it helps me to make a better choice at making the shot, and it makes me more effective in doing that if I have that. And I don't think I'm the only one that has that natural inclination to just aim when you see an enemy. So for me, as a person that does that isn't able to break the cycle, then I highly recommend ADS to be on instead of off.
Right. Well, there's a couple of things. So if you remember the wall test, the hip fire is very sporadic, very all over the place. So if you were at a distance doing hip fire, the number of bullets, the further away somebody is, the less that are going to hit you. Right. So you can certainly start with hip fire, and we'll get into the other features that we were talking about in aim assist. But once you start aiming in that right direction, then pull the trigger, then aim down the sight. And there are other benefits. The aim down the sight, on or off, is I hear they use the term relative to the field of view. I put it simply, with it on, it's like more of a magnification than with it off. And it just, to me, makes the enemy a little bit more clear and stick out more. But the key about Portal is you get to try it yourself, test it, change it back, and figure out which one works for you.
Very true. Very true. All right. Our 5th part, aim assist, and then aim assist with the zoom snap. And this is where we did the test where I follow you aiming with aim assist at 100% versus 0%. And then we also can talk about the sensitivity as well, the aim sensitivity, to adjust that. And we alluded to that earlier in a previous part.
Right. So I'm running by, and Joe is trying to track me, as in a game. If an enemy ran by and you wanted to shoot them, you would want to be able to keep up with them as they run by to shoot them. And you could see that first attempt, that wasn't as good as maybe you'd want.
Right. So here I'm changing the settings from 100 to 0. For this test, we're keeping the soldier aim sensitivity at 20, but we did alter that as well to give make it easier to lock onto the enemy.
Right. So I think we do want to explore this setting and feature a little bit more perhaps in the future. I think it would be a little bit more fun because, as you're mentioning, right, that's a nice tracking, but it's not right to left because you're following, sort of looking downward at me, sort of like down the bowling alley, so to speak. The sensitivity plays a role. As we mentioned before, the higher the sensitivity, the easier you'll find to counteract the gun and to move it from left to right. The lower the sensitivity, the greater the effort, and therefore the bigger the challenge for tracking. But I think in the future, we could perhaps run this at a few different distances so that we could see more exaggeration of the aim and the snap of the aim down sight and the snap to zoom.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. Let us know in the comments whether you would be interested in seeing additional tests or even more in-depth testing for what we are looking at. So we are open-minded with that, and Portal has the versatility to do all of that, which is great.
Yeah, and actually, I'm sure there's more that we explored.
We may have just scratched the surface. There's much more we can do with Portal. For this part, anything else for aim assist and aim assist with snap and sensitivity? I think we covered.
Yeah, I thought we did record, but maybe it was just me talking to myself at the time because I do that. One of the things that I tried pointing out, and again, we can go back to, is with the aim down sight and the, with the snap to zoom, right? If you're standing still and you're looking at an enemy, when you're aiming at them, if you were slightly off to the right or to the left, when you aim, if you first fire and aren't locked on and miss just a little bit, if you let go of the fire, so assuming you have an automatic, and then re-fire, what you'll find is so long as you're close to the target, actual technology will end up being on target. So if you're firing and you're slightly off, stop firing and then click on it again, and it'll end up sort of centering on the target. That is that snap to effect that you want to look for. Because if you're missing, you need to recalibrate, right? It's not, but it shouldn't be too much. If you're really missing, the technology in the snap 2 isn't going to help you. But if you're close, literally stopping and redoing. And so in that Portal setting, the AI characters are set up almost like bowling pins, right? And they put you at a position where you can look at all of those and at different greater distances. And practicing the aim, fire, snap to aim, snap to aim, snap to aim, snap to aim, you'll find that you can get into a rhythm and improve your gaming. And by the way, if you warm up there and then play a game, you'll be a little bit sharper and you'll maybe be a little bit more satisfied with the game.
Yeah, you and I need those warm-up rounds.
Yeah, sometimes.
We can leverage Portal.
Yep.
Mic off. Mic on.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our special guest segment for episode 3. We can move on to a new segment we're doing on comments from the past show. We saw some comments from episode 2. Thank you to all those that provided us comments. From Elijah Shepard, Final Fantasy 16 is where it's at. Great info. Kumar, speak up more and show yourself. Thanks for updates. Elijah, we hear you, and we will work with Kumar to break the silence, so to speak. I'll quote Depeche Mode there, and get him to engage more. And we have the plan to have more special guests on the show, and Nick, of course, returning.
If you want, it's up to you guys. I don't know.
Let us know in the comments what you think, and we will cover more of Final Fantasy 16 as it approaches the release date and updates for that, as well as get some gameplay on a first impression segment like was done for Dead Island 2 and Tron Identity. And that wraps up our show for episode 3. Thank you all for your support and the views that we have been getting. And we look forward to seeing your comments, what you think, and what you want more of in upcoming episodes. All right. Nick, any final thoughts?
Yeah, get out there and play some video games. What are you doing?